What's going on, everyone? So I did a video the other day talking about Jonathan Isaac being available via trade and that the Lakers should be looking to acquire him. I think he would be ideal, particularly his defense, right? Talk about a very versatile, switchable 6'10", can basically slot in 3 through 5 and defend 1 through 5 for you. 3-point shoot, he had a bad shooting season, but he was also the healthiest he's been basically since his rookie season, right? So that's an upward trend. He's a guy that I don't think would break the bank, right? He's making $15 million a year. Basically, these next 4 years, he's on a contract. He's making $15 million, 14 and a half, 14 and a half, and $15 million, right? So he's a very reasonable contract, versatile, defensive 3-and-D style wing that the Lakers could desperately use. I mean, obviously the center position, but beyond the center position, you need perimeter help badly. And I think Jonathan Isaac is one of those guys that can make a ton of sense, right? He's a guy that has injury concerns, that is only playing 15 minutes a game, kind of a bit of the odd man out on a team, Orlando, that has a ton of front court help. And so to me, I look at it and go like, hey, maybe you can go and get a Jonathan Isaac at a reasonable price. Also, they're currently shopping Cole Anthony, and they're open exploring and listening to various trades, right? They're a team that wants to try to contend sooner rather than later. They're a team that's looking to maybe make some moves sooner rather than later, right? Now, for the Lakers side of things, there are a couple guys on the Lakers that could make some sense. Obviously, Austin Reeves, they desperately could use a guy like Austin Reeves that could just play, make, and wheel and deal. So, I mean, maybe you could do a big trade and get multiple pieces. Rui Hachimura also is a guy that makes a ton of sense for them, just because they don't really have like that big physical, strong forward outside of like Wendell Carter Jr., who's best at the 5 for them, right? So, having a guy like a Rui Hachimura that just has a lower center of gravity, more physical, more strong, can create for himself, create a little bit for others, right? He's a guy that, wouldn't be reliant on playmaking and whatnot, can knock down the 3 ball with some efficiency, which Orlando desperately needs some shooting. So, point is, Lakers have multiple guys that make a lot of sense for a team like the Orlando Magic. It's just, is there a path to get a deal done? Also, the Lakers and Orlando have a history of working out and working on trades. So there's that category of it all. So to me, Orlando is one of the destinations that I would look at and try to open up some dialogue. At least do your due diligence. Orlando has a ton of players that make sense for the Lakers, and luckily have an abundance, particularly in their front court, to where they could trade 2 or 3 guys and still be fine. They need perimeter help shooting, right? Like they have several needs that Lakers could potentially resolve for them. And like you might be able to pull off some type of mutually beneficial trade between those two, right? Obviously, look, again, Jonathan Isaac, I would love to have. Cole Anthony, I wouldn't even hate in like a backup role, right? As just like a bucket getter off the bench, especially the Lakers bench was atrocious, right? So bringing in like a Cole Anthony, he's undersized, right? You talk about a guy that's 6'2", but he's 25. He's only making $13 million. Jonathan Isaac's only making $15 million. Talk about 2 guys that would be relatively cheap. But then outside of that, you have Goga, 25, 6'10", 250-pound center, making $9 million. We'll call it $10 million because Lakers have to send out more salary than they take back. He would be fantastic. I don't see them trade in like an Anthony Black or anything like that, but a Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, right? He didn't have a great year for them. His best years still were with the Lakers, right? And he's exactly what the Lakers need, particularly slotted in at the 2. I mean, he'd be beautiful, right? Just seamless, slotted in alongside Luka and LeBron James, right? Like KCP would be fantastic. And he's not that far removed from all NBA, defensive 3-and-D guard, right? Like he's right there. Problem is he's making a pretty penny. He's making just under $23 million. So it's like, to me, that's a bit of an overpay for him, especially, coming off of a down year, right? That wasn't a great year. He's also 32, right? But if you can maybe get some complementary pieces and kind of like, hey, we'll also take KCP and his long-term money, maybe work something out, right? Like, hey, we have all this expiring contracts. You kind of locked yourself in the KCP deal. We love KCP, right? Like, it's just, you probably going to get the tax and anything anyway. So, if you can build a real contender, why not? Wendell Carter Jr., another guy that makes a ton of sense. He's 26, 6'10", 270, right? Versatile 3-and-D style center, right? Guy that, is making $12 million. So the other thing too is that they have a lot of guys that are cheap enough for the Lakers to go and trade for, and even trade for multiple guys. They have a lot of guys that kind of fall in beautifully into our like salary range, right? Like even like you look at a Wendell Carter Jr. You could do, a Rui Hachimura. So like let's use as an example. You could get, right, a Goga who's making, let's call it 10 million, and a Wendell Carter Jr. who's making 12 million. That'd be 22 million. Maxi Kleba, Gabe Vincent, boom, clean, right? Like, like that would be perfect. Like you could literally just swap. I mean, obviously you'd have to give up a first and picks and stuff, but I'm talking about just like salary wise, just clean, like 2 for 2, right? Nobody has to waive anything. No one has to do anything. Or Lakers, luckily they do have a guy like Shake Milton. So even some of their guys, they're not that far removed where you could do like a Gabe Vincent and a Shake Milton. Right. And Shake Milton's on a non-guaranteed to where they could just waive him and it's clean, it's easy, it's simple. Right. But, Wendell Carter Jr. Would make a ton of sense. Right. Gary Harris, I think, is going into contract. He's a veteran, 3-and-D style guy that can make some sense off the bench. He's only making like $6 million. Right. Point is, again, with the Jonathan Isaac, in a perfect world, could you get a Jalen Suggs? They have a lot of guys. I mean, you're talking about 6, 7, 8 guys that make a world of sense from the Lakers for a front court help, to just, perimeter help that very likely might be obtainable for you. Obviously, it depends on what is Orlando working on and looking for and whatnot, right? Like, so like even with the Jonathan Isaac and the Cole Anthony, they're trying to take those 2 plus their picks and see if they can move up in the draft, right? I don't know if that, like, how many teams are like, oh yeah, let's take a flyer on, Jonathan Isaac, right? Who's great. The reason I want the Lakers to take a flyer on him is because the Lakers don't have other options, right? Like, most teams already have those kind of guys. They're already fine in that regard. Lakers, on the other hand, it's like, you don't have those guys. So it's like Lakers have no choice, and they're limited on assets. They're limited on what they can give up and trade. It's not like the Lakers have this like abundance and treasure trove that they can just go out and overpay for guys and do all this craziness, right? Like, you need to find those diamonds in the rough. You need to take a flyer on a guy like a Jonathan Isaac, right? I've talked about like a DeAnthony Melton in free agency, right? He's coming off an ACL tear. It's a risk, right? Who knows if he gets back to being the guy that he was. But if he's even half of the guy that he was, that's a guy that you don't currently have on the Lakers that would be great, right? That you'd be able to get dirt cheap, on a vet minimum deal, right? Like, Lakers are going to have to be creative here. They're going to have to find these gems. They're going to have to take a risk on a guy or two that they might have not have done otherwise if they already had all their stuff together. Unfortunately, right, the Lakers just don't have their stuff together, and they have so many needs. So I look at a team like the Orlando Magic who could literally solve 3, 4, 5 of the Lakers' needs all in one swoop. It's easier to get a trade done with one team for multiple pieces than it is to piece it together for multiple guys and teams, right? Because you find a team like there's 3 teams and all 3 guys want Dalton Connect, or all 3 teams want Dalton Connect, right? It's like, well, not all 3 teams can get Dalton Connect. Only one of them can get Dalton Connect. Okay, well, all 3 teams want Austin Reeves and the first and that. It's like, well, you can't give all of that to all these guys. Like, yeah, maybe you could kind of piece it together, but it also makes things difficult because, everyone wants to feel like they won. Where it's much easier to go to a team like the Orlando Magic and be like, hey, Wendell Carter Jr. or a Goga, Jonathan Isaac, and like a Cole Anthony for the bench. Or, hey, you want to get off of KCP's contract? We'll do KCP, give us a Goga, and then give us Jonathan Isaac. So you have your center, you have a 3-and-D guard that you can slot in, and you have, a Jonathan Isaac that can be that versatile defender, right? Like, perfect, right? Like, it's easier to get something like that done where it's like, hey, we'll send you a Dalton Connect. You could use a Rui Hachimura as a more sizable physical forward. You could also, like I said, maybe you're doing an even bigger trade in trading Austin Reeves. Maybe you're getting a Goga, a Jonathan Isaac, a Wendell Carter Jr., and, an Anthony Black or something like that for an Austin Reeves, a Rui Hachimura, a Gabe Vincent, and a Dalton Connect. I'm not sure off the top of my head if the salaries match, but you get my point, right? Maybe you are doing this big swing trade, and they're like, man, we could have Jalen Suggs with Austin Reeves, right? That could be our backcourt. KCP could be off the bench or slotted in at the 3. We'd still have, Franz and Mo, and, they'd still have multiple guys that could slot in and fill that, right? So, like, If you're the Lakers, maybe you can kind of convince Orlando. Again, you have a history of working on trades and being able to trade with each other. That's really good, right? So like if you're the Lakers, that's what you want to do. You want to try to find that team that can kind of, hey, we can just solve everything in one swoop. We can solve everything in one play, right? Rather than like, hey, let's go and trade, with this team and that team. And now everybody wants Dalton Connect. Everyone wants Austin Reeves. Everyone wants this, that, and the other. It's like, if you're the Lakers, if a team like Orlando, boom, you could get everything done, solved, resolved, and you're in great shape, right? So if you're the Lakers, I would look to a team like the Orlando Magic, try to see if you can get that resolved, try to see if you can get that solved, and we'll see. We'll see, right? The fact that Orlando is at least exploring and listening to potential trades, that would be fantastic if the Lakers can maybe get something done. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. Pass a question to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me out. So we enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Now subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button, turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.